It's such a pleasure to be a part of this panel. I've really enjoyed the comments of my fellow practitioners and other speakers on the panel. I've prepared some slides for today as well. So this is a picture of the farm that I run. It's called Grazing Days Farm. I farm about an hour outside of Ottawa, and we farm 300 acres and have had up to 250 cattle on those 300 acres. So before I go into the details of what we do, I wanted to quickly touch on like my own understanding of what regenerative agriculture is. And at the basis of it, it is healthy soils. So the farm that we're on has been degraded through years and years and years of industrial agriculture that just take things out of the soil and never put anything back.
Paul, I'm sorry to interrupt. Just to note that I don't think that you're sharing your screen.
Okay, sorry about that. Is that better?
Perfect.
Great, thank you. So at the foundation of that is healthy soils. And the soil is made up of many things, but one of the often overlooked things is the soil biodiversity and the soil microbes, which are really responsible for the communication and transportation of elements in the soil to our plants. So plants are rooted in one place and they can't go get get things that they need for themselves. And it's the soil microbes that actually get food and nutrients to these plants that they can't get for themselves. And the way that the plants get these microbes to work for them is through this magical element called carbon. And just a quick look at the carbon cycle in a plant. On the left-hand side, we see plants that photosynthesize. They take carbon dioxide out of the air and use sunlight with water to create sugar chains, which these plants use to create biomass and grow foliage and things above the ground, roots underground. And then a very interesting function as well is they actually create this root exudate, which is basically like a liquid sugar that the plant roots just releases into the soil to feed these microbes to go get them nutrients that the plant can't access themselves. And so what we see is that carbon is really the currency of the soil. So this is a graph that kind of shows the life cycle of a healthy plant. And the real important thing I want to showcase here is that during the grass, where the grass growth rate is at its maximum, that's where the photosynthesis is at its most, and that's where the most biomass is put on, most carbon is released into the soil, and the most carbon dioxide is captured out of the atmosphere. So in our grazing on our farm, my goal is to keep the plant in that maximum growth state as long as possible. So this is a picture of the herd. This is a picture of the grassland after the herd has come through. So we try to take about 50% of the leaf and trample the rest to cover the soil, keep the soil temperatures cool. But we only take 50% of the leaf to make sure that that plant continues to photosynthesize and capture carbon out of the atmosphere the moment we take the cattle out of that grassland. We use our pigs to get rid of weedy patches of ground that will turn into healthy pastures once we put the cattle in after the pigs. This is what grazing looks like in the winter. We continue well into December and January. As long as the cows can get their nose down through the snow to graze, we continue to graze. And then after that, we feed hay or dried grass and continue to add carbon on top of the snow which will, here's a photo of that next spring, new grass is growing. And then within a season, we have very healthy, lush pastures. Here's a picture of all of the fields that we graze, and we mimic the natural migration patterns of the natural grazing herds in East Africa of the wildebeests, in the former prairies here in North America of the bison. And we plan a migration pattern through our fields to mimic the natural migration of those other herds. Here's some of the science behind it. I won't go into it because I'm out of time. But anyway, this is how we try to capture carbon and regenerate our land on our farm. And there's my contact information there. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them at any point in time. Thank you very much.